He doesn't know it yet, but if I make the next move carefully, he'll lose everything. My name is Noah. I'm 40, and I work remotely as a software engineer in Tacoma, Washington. That message was never meant for my eyes. But while syncing photos and school calendars on our shared tablet one morning, something unexpected happened. A full backup pulled in every message from her phone, text that loaded before I realized what I was seeing. I froze in my home office, coffee cooling beside me, scrolling through a private chat my wife Lena had with someone named Patricia Hoffman. At first, the name meant nothing, but her words made my chest tighten. She spoke like I was already out of the picture, an obstacle she was planning to eliminate. For the last 3 years, I handled the school run while Lena slept in. I prepped dinners most nights because she said cooking gave her anxiety. When Maya got pneumonia last winter, I stayed up checking her breathing. Lena, meanwhile, grumbled about missing her book club. When Jacob needed help with his volcano model, I was slicing cardboard at midnight. I thought we were building a life together. I thought the long nights I spent debugging code to pay for her yoga retreats and weekend getaways mattered. When she said she needed time to rediscover herself, I gave it to her. When she said my work hours were too rigid, I restructured my entire routine. But as I scrolled through weeks of messages I was never meant to see, it became clear she wasn't trying to save our marriage. She was setting me up. She'd written, "Mental instability plays well in custody hearings." I closed the tablet, got up, and made breakfast for the kids like it was any other Tuesday. Packed lunches, dropped them at school. Maya talked excitedly about her spelling bee. Jacob showed off a soccer bruise. Everything looked normal, but nothing was. That evening over dinner, I watched Lena laugh at something on her phone while the kids recapped their day. But I didn't see my wife, I saw someone else. Someone studying me, calculating how to dismantle the life I built. She kissed my cheek as I cleared the plates, asked about my day while her thumbs typed quietly below the table. She smiled when I reminded her about Maya's parent-teacher meeting. I once believed marriage was about teamwork, but for Lena, it had become a chessboard, and I hadn't even known I was a piece. We met 8 years ago at a Seattle cafe. She was reading Hemingway, criticizing men who didn't understand the writing. Maybe I should have noticed the sarcasm, but she was striking, confident, magnetic. She seemed impressed when I mentioned I'd read the same novel in college. 6 months later, we moved in. Within a year, we were engaged. She left her marketing job after Maya's birth, said she wanted to be a full-time mom, and I supported her completely. I picked up extra projects, stayed up late working, made sure she never had to worry about finances. Looking back, I see the changes were gradual. She stopped asking about my work, rolled her eyes when I shared anything exciting. After Jacob was born, things got colder. "You're always working," she'd say, though when I cut back hours, she'd say we were broke. When I gently suggested she take on some part-time work, she accused me of devaluing her as a mother. It was a moving target. She wanted me present, but not too involved. Supportive, but never directive. Driven, but never absent. I spent years decoding her moods, shifting myself to meet constantly changing expectations. Then came the new circle, women from yoga who bragged about draining their exes in court. They joked about winning custody, houses, and alimony. Lena laughed along. Too often, she began asking specific questions about our assets, whose name was on how custody worked in Washington state. Last month, she pushed for marriage counseling. Dr. Elizabeth Reed. I went along, hoping it meant she still cared. I thought it was a step forward, but something felt off. Lena would retell events in ways I barely recognized, twisting our arguments into narratives that painted me as domineering. In one session, she told Dr. Reed I had anger issues. I sat in disbelief. I don't even raise my voice. He gets weird about money, always accusing me of overspending, she claimed. I calmly explained that I've always handled our bills because she said it overwhelms her. "See," she interrupted. "He's doing it again, trying to make me look bad." That night, she was unusually affectionate. Apologized. Blamed stress. I believed her like always. Then came her request to record our conversations for therapy homework. I agreed. I shouldn't have. Over the next 2 weeks, her plan unfolded. More messages surfaced. Patricia Hoffman wasn't just a friend. She was a divorce attorney who specialized in high-conflict custody battles. Document everything, she told Lena. Anytime he sounds angry, paranoid, controlling, build a pattern. The counseling wasn't for healing. It was a trap. Dr. Reed wasn't mediating. She was witnessing. Lena was provoking me on purpose. And worse, she was planning a financial ambush. Moving funds into separate accounts. Writing false claims about me hiding money, even though I'd always been fully transparent. She even plotted to have her sister testify that I was unwell, unstable, unfit, and all the while I was making breakfast, attending spelling bees, cutting cardboard volcanoes, thinking we were still a team. Despite Rebecca barely knowing me, Lena had already coached her on what to say. Alleged controlling behavior, instability, the script was clear. The recording idea is perfect, Patricia had texted. If you can get him to lose it on tape, we'll have everything. Suddenly, everything made sense. The therapy push. The phone casually placed between us during serious talks. The way she started poking at vulnerable topics, the moment her screen was facing up and recording. I considered confronting her right then, marching into the kitchen and laying the evidence on the table, asking her outright what she was doing. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the way her divorced friends always described their exes. Unhinged, paranoid, aggressive. And how the courts had apparently believed them without a second thought. Instead, I stayed at my desk and did what I do best. I researched. Washington was a single-party consent state. I could legally record any conversation I was part of. Our security system? Upgradable. Phone calls? Documented. I had been fighting blind. Now I knew the rules. That night, Lena tried again. She brought up a late client payment, accused me of hiding income. Her phone was on the counter, screen lit, mic open. "You're right," I said calmly. "I should have told you sooner. Let me pull up the invoice." I opened my laptop and walked her through every detail. Patient, transparent. She looked annoyed. "Are you okay?" she asked after 20 minutes of failed bait. "You seem off." "Just tired," I said. "Too much code today." But I wasn't tired. I was wide awake. For the first time in months. If she wanted a game of documentation, she'd forgotten who I was. I'd spent 8 years building systems that track everything. She thought she was hunting me. She didn't realize I was already 3 steps ahead. My mistake was thinking we could still fix things face to face. 3 weeks after reading those messages, I decided to try something different. What if I reminded her of what we once had? I planned a weekend away, just us. No kids. No stress. Ocean views, the same restaurant we went to for our first anniversary. Everything she used to love. At first, it felt like it might work. She laughed again, held my hand. We walked the beach Friday night, talked about Maya learning to walk. She even brought up a summer vacation. Then came Saturday morning. She angled her phone between our coffee cups. "I've been thinking about us," she said. "Do you think we're actually compatible?" I should have known. It was a setup. A loaded question designed to make me defensive. "I think we've hit a tough patch," I answered honestly. "But we have 2 amazing kids. 8 years of history. That's worth something. But what if one of us has changed? What if we want different things now?" "Then we talk it out," I said. "Like adults. Like partners." She kept pushing. "Why didn't take the bait?" She switched gears. "Sometimes I feel like you don't see me anymore," she said. "Like I'm just here to take care of the house while you bury yourself in work." It stung, because in some ways she was right. I had picked up more hours to keep her comfortable. But I explained it wasn't neglect. It was support. And still, she twisted it. "See," she snapped. "It's always about money with you." The conversation dragged for an hour. Every answer I gave, she spun into something darker. Every effort to understand her was tossed aside. It wasn't about connection. It was about catching me slipping, recording frustration, cornering me into saying something I couldn't undo. I didn't. But by Sunday, as we drove home, she was texting constantly. No doubt updating Patricia. Her version of events would paint me as distant, obsessed with control, emotionally unavailable. And then came Monday. She said she'd scheduled an appointment with a new counselor, Dr. Michael Stevens. specialist in high-conflict marriages. Already filled him in, she said. Told him about your temper. She said it while making Maya's sandwich like it was nothing. How you shut down when I try to talk, she added. I had never yelled, never stormed out. But in her narrative, calmness was coldness. Boundaries were controlling. Discussions were manipulation. The session was set for Friday. She insisted I go, said it was important for us. What she didn't mention was that Dr. Stevens was known for keeping detailed case notes. Notes that courts could request in custody battles. All week, her tactics escalated. She criticized my parenting loudly in front of the kids, bought expensive things, then accused me of controlling her when I asked why. Started fights before bed, then claimed I was stressing her out. Her phone was always nearby, always recording, and I stayed steady, which only made her angrier. By Thursday night, I understood. Every step I took to save our marriage was ammunition for her to use later. Every productive session, every honest conversation, every compromise, evidence. She didn't want to heal anything. She wanted to bury me beneath her story. And I, unknowingly, was helping her write it. Friday came. The appointment with Dr. Stevens. And Lena? She looked satisfied as we got into the car, smiling, making small talk, like we were just another couple trying to work things out. She had no idea that for the past 3 weeks, I'd been recording every single conversation. Or that I'd already sat down with an attorney to discuss custody laws in Washington. The rules of the game had just changed completely. From the moment we stepped into Dr. Stevens' office, it felt like a setup. The seating placement wasn't random. Lena sat close to him, while I was tucked away further like an outsider. He already seemed briefed on our dynamic, because instead of listening to what I said, he zeroed in on my posture, tone, and expressions. Noah, Lena mentioned you've had trouble managing stress lately, he began. How would you describe your emotional state these days? It was a trap. If I said I was fine, I was avoiding the truth. If I admitted to stress, I was proving I was unstable. I chose the middle ground. I'm worried about our marriage, I said. Some days are harder than others, but I want to work through our issues. What worries you most? Dr. Stevens asked, pen already moving. I glanced at Lena. She smiled, encouraging me. Another trap. Communication, I said slowly. It feels like we're having different conversations about the same issue. Before I could elaborate, Lena jumped in. He gets paranoid about money, she said. Last week, he accused me of hiding purchases. I hadn't accused her of anything. I had asked about an unfamiliar charge, but saying that out loud would only make me sound defensive. I noticed a charge I didn't recognize. I said, careful with my words. I was just trying to understand our spending. See? Lena turned to Dr. Stevens. He says it's understanding, but it feels like interrogation. And that was how the session went for 50 minutes. Every concern I voiced was twisted into control. Every question I asked became an attack. Dr. Stevens nodded occasionally, but his questions always circled back to Lena's story. As we walked out, Lena scheduled the next session with a satisfied grin. That night, I made a decision. I called the attorney I'd been quietly speaking to, Thomas Fletcher, a specialist in father's rights. This time, I was ready to tell him everything. Bring all the recordings, Thomas said, and the texts. We need to establish the full picture before she does. The next morning, while Lena was out at yoga, I drove to his office. He sat and listened to hours of footage. Conversations where Lena tried to provoke me. Therapy sessions twisted into evidence. Phone calls where she coached her sister on what to say. This is something, Thomas said, eyes narrowing. I've seen manipulative tactics before, but this is strategic. It's been building for months. He laid it out clearly. This was classic. Use counseling to log a pattern of instability. Get recordings to showcase anger. Prep witnesses to back it all up. Then file for sole custody and claim emotional danger. The good news, he said, is you've got everything. The texts with Patricia Hoffman, the recordings, the setup attempts. A judge will see right through this. But there was also bad news. They were moving faster than expected. Thomas had learned that Patricia Hoffman was preparing court documents. They planned to file in under 2 weeks. They were rushing afraid I might catch on. We need to move first, Thomas advised. File for divorce ourselves. Request an immediate custody evaluation. Force them to defend against the truth instead of spinning their story first. I thought of Maya and Jacob. How much this would confuse them. How Lena's plan would hurt them the most. Do it, I said. File tomorrow. That evening, I tucked my kids in like always. Read Jacob his dragon book. Help Maya review her spelling list. Ordinary Tuesday night things. Except tomorrow, nothing would be ordinary. And Lena had no idea. Thomas filed the divorce petition at 9 a.m. sharp. By 10, we'd submitted a motion for emergency custody evaluation. By 11, Patricia Hoffman was on the phone, demanding to know what we were doing. Lena found out at 3 p.m. The doorbell rang. A few muffled words, then silence. 10 minutes later, she stormed into my office, legal envelope in hand. Her face was pale. "What is this?" she snapped. I looked up from my laptop calmly. "Divorce papers," I said. "I figured you'd recognize them. You've been preparing yours for months." She stood frozen, mouth half open. This wasn't part of her script. She was supposed to file first, to frame me as unstable, to control the story. "I don't understand," she said. "We've been working on our marriage." "You mean the counseling?" I asked. "The sessions where you rewrote our history? Will you try to make me sound controlling and paranoid?" I kept my voice steady. "I know about Patricia Hoffman, Lena. I know everything." The color drained from her face. "I don't know what you're talking about." I turned my laptop screen toward her. Hit play. Her voice filled the room, but it was Rebecca's voice that came first. "Just say he yells when you spend money. Make it sound scary." Lena replied, "Perfect. And say he ignores the kids when he's working." I hit pause. "I have 4 hours of this. Your texts with Patricia, your coaching sessions. It's all documented." She tried to pivot, pull the emotional manipulation card. "You recorded me? In our own home? That's insane, Noah. This is exactly what I've been telling people about you." I didn't flinch. "Washington's a single-party consent state," I said. "Recording is legal. Conspiring to frame someone in court? That's another story entirely." That one word, asterisk, asterisk, perjury, asterisk, asterisk, stopped her cold. Clearly, Patricia hadn't explained just how serious their little scheme was under the law. "You're sick," Lena said finally, her voice trembling. "Recording your own wife? What kind of man does that?" "The kind who realized his wife was plotting to ruin him," I said. She left without another word. I could hear her on the phone seconds later, probably scrambling to do damage control with Patricia. But this time, there would be no spinning the situation. Thomas had already filed motions to have all evidence collected through Lena's manipulation dismissed. The therapy notes from Dr. Stevens would be disqualified. Her list of coached witnesses? Discredited. The custody evaluation was scheduled for the following week. Only now, I wasn't defending myself against accusations. I was presenting proof of calculated betrayal. That night, the kids noticed something was off. Maya asked if Mommy was sick. She'd seen Lena crying. Jacob wanted to know why I seemed so serious lately. I helped them with homework like usual. Made dinner while Lena remained in the bedroom, no doubt revising her next move with her attorney. When she finally emerged, her expression had changed. The confident woman who had been orchestrating this mess for months now looked like someone who had realized the rules had changed, and she was losing. "We need to talk," she said. "We can talk through our lawyers," I replied. "Noah, please. This doesn't have to destroy our family." I stared at her, at the woman I once built a life with, raised children with, trusted. "You already destroyed it," I said quietly. "I'm just making sure the wreckage is documented." The custody hearing lasted just over 3 hours. Patricia Hoffman came prepared with her usual routine. She painted me as some erratic, work-obsessed man who controlled his wife financially. She had Dr. Stevens ready to testify about my so-called anger issues. I supposedly got defensive during therapy. Then Thomas stood and played the recordings. Lena coaching Rebecca on what to say in court. Her chats with Patricia about painting me as unstable. Even a clip of her practicing crying on cue. Judge Morrison stopped the hearing after the second audio clip. "Counselor," she said to Patricia, Are you aware your client has been attempting to deceive this court? Patricia looked visibly shaken. She clearly hadn't known about the recordings either. Your Honor, we were unaware of these alleged files. Alleged, Judge Morrison said, and hit play on another clip. This time Lena's voice could be heard clearly, planning exactly how to lie in court. This sounds very much like a deliberate intent to mislead the family court, the judge said. Thomas methodically presented every piece of evidence. For months of text messages, recordings of provocation attempts, screenshots of Lena siphoning money into separate accounts while accusing me of financial control. Lena didn't speak. She couldn't. Everything she had plotted was unraveling in front of her. Dr. Stevens, who had been confident just minutes before, quietly requested to be excused. Patricia Hoffman tried to regroup, argued that even in difficult marriages, custody concerns can still be valid. But Judge Morrison had made up her mind. This court does not condone the weaponization of our legal system, she said.